Hello and welcome to this edition of Focus, a program produced by the Department of Disaster Management, DDM. I'm your host, Fiona Alexander Smith, Information and Education Manager at the DDM. The territory is surrounded by the crystal clear waters of the Caribbean Sea, making it an ideal location for water sports, boating, and other water-related activities. However, as we enjoy this natural resource, it's important that we all understand how to stay safe and how to respond appropriately if we encounter difficulties or observe someone else in a state of distress. Our focus for this edition is on safety at sea. So stay tuned for the discussion after this commercial break.
Do you go swimming? How about fishing? Do you catch the ferry? But do you really know what to do to be safe at the sea? Here's a few tips. Life jackets. Take them, wear them. Small boats, especially ones under 6 meters in length, can and may sink very quickly. Wearing a life jacket increases your survival time in the water. Check the local weather marine forecast before you go, and expect both weather and sea state changes. Never go out to fish or dive without double checking. Always bring a waterproof communication device, including a waterproof mobile phone or a waterproof case for your phone. Avoid alcohol. Safe boating and alcohol do not mix. Remember, someone needs to stay alert and aware. Similar to cars, you need a designated driver on the boat at all times.
Brought to you by the Public Information and Education Subcommittee at the National Disaster Management Council and this station.
You're in tune to Focus, a program produced by the Department of Disaster Management, DDM. Sea safety is the topic for discussion, and joining me now is Sergeant Louis Buckley from the Marine Unit of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. Welcome to the program, Sergeant Buckley.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, when we speak about safety at sea, we have to make it clear to persons why we emphasize this. So, from your unit, on a weekly or perhaps monthly basis, what is the average number of reported incidents you receive?
Well, reported incidents, they do fluctuate according to the time of the year. And on average, we receive approximately 14 reports per month.
Okay. And what is the nature of these reports?
These reports are mainly vessels in distress, oil spills. We have reports of suspicious vessels. We have speeding in harbor reports. We have reports of illegal immigrants, various offenses breaching the marine-related laws of the British Virgin Islands. So it's a wide range of reports that we deal with on a monthly basis.
Right, certainly is a wide range. How do you go about responding to them, though, in terms of perhaps even collaborating with other agencies?
Well, we work very closely with the Virgin Islands Search and Rescue. They have been able to provide us with tremendous support and has provided a very good support to the territory on a whole. And we collaborate with them in terms of conducting rescue operations at sea. And we also collaborate with DDM and also the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry, who we work very closely with in terms of remedying safety issues and getting opinion from them as it relates to, how to go about dealing with these incidents of safety when they arise. So we have a very good working relationship with other agencies.
Right, so it's sort of a multi-sector approach to dealing with situations that may arise.
Yes, it is.
Right. What procedures should persons follow if they find themselves in a state of distress while at sea?
Well, it's always best to travel with some form of communication, whether it be cell phones or VHF radios. So therefore, those persons would be strongly advised to first and foremost call for help, assistance. If you have life jackets on board, you should have life jackets on board, and you place those jackets on. You deploy safety equipment such as flares, which should be also on board your vessel, and you pay close attention to passing vessels, be ready to wave in the event that communication fails, etc. And most importantly, to remain calm during those incidents.
Yes.
Don't panic.
Remain calm. That's something easier said than done for most people.
I know it is.
But it's so important that they do that. And why do we emphasize the need for persons to stay calm in these situations?
Well, panic. When you panic, you tend to not focus on what is to be done, and panicking will result in you not remembering what you're supposed to do at times, and you tend to do the wrong things as well when you panic.
That's right. Are there any particular periods in the year when you observe spikes in certain accidents or incidents? And if so, what period of the year is that?
Yes, we have had a spike in incidents between the months of November to May. And that blends into the tourist season somewhat.
Okay.
We have a large amount of persons finding themselves in distress, and all the related. We have a lot of boat collisions as well, and drowning incidents, etc. And that is the period most frequent with maritime activities, and also it's more busier for us on a whole.
Okay, all right. Now, you did mention drowning, so unfortunately some of these accidents do lead to fatalities.
Yes.
How many incidents of drowning have been reported, perhaps in a set period, maybe 5 years or over the last year?
Yes. Well, for 2015, we've had 5 incidents, and so far during 2016, we've had 3.
Okay.
So we're hoping that the numbers will not increase, and we remain optimistic that that will happen. We remain hopeful that there will not be any further incidents as for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you can only hope for that, and hope that the programs such as this would help to educate persons on how to stay safe.
Yes, it does.
Even with those figures, based on your observation, are people becoming more knowledgeable about how to stay safe at sea?
Yes, I do believe so. We've had a lot of these incidents when it comes on to fatal accidents. Incidents where persons have been charged for breaching the regulations and laws of the territory. And that, on a whole, sensitizes the public that, listen, there are consequences and you need to adhere to safety requirements. Also, there has been a lot of outreach, and especially on the part of the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry. The department goes to various locations, different islands, try to sensitize children, adults, the boating community about safety. So, and programs like this, as you say, they do help.
What's your advice on how persons can stay safe?
Well, when you're going out to sea, it's best to inform someone where you're going and the approximate time for your return. Also, it's always best to travel with good communication, whether it be satellite phone, cell phones. Always have a radio on board so you can call for help. Travel with the necessary safety kit, life jackets, flares, so that you can signal for help. And always travel with a companion. It's always best to have someone else on board. And also, very importantly, I wanted to touch on the fact that we should all try to avoid operating vessels while intoxicated or
Very
while
important.
taking medication that may hamper your ability to navigate vessels safely.
Right. Great point to end on, Sergeant Buckley. Thank you so much, and I hope the information shared would help to sensitize persons. Stay tuned for more information on how you can stay safe while enjoying our waters.
I heard about storm surge on TV, but didn't really know what it was.
I even wiped us out. The sea swept away everything. All gone.
The waves were higher than the house.
The devastating force of a storm surge is awesome. Wave after wave. Tons and tons of water lashing and smashing down all before it. Storm surge. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. If you live alongside the seaside, sooner or later, storm surge, the big waves and high seas caused by a storm, will threaten your property. Plan for it. Build for it. Maybe don't build there at all. Find out more about storm surge and other hazards at your local disaster office.
Thanks for tuning in to Focus. The topic for discussion is safety at sea, not only for sea bathers, but also for boaters. So let me welcome our next guest from the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry, Captain Raman Bala. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we just heard Sergeant Buckley speaking about the close collaboration between the two agencies. Tell us the role. What is the role of the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry?
The government of the BVI is required by international law to have a maritime administration. And the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry is the maritime administration for the government of the BVI. What it means, what does maritime administration mean, is that we legislate international laws into local laws and then apply them to the vessels in our territory.
Right.
So for example, we have a lot of small boats in the territory, and we examine them under the blue and yellow code, which are the international law, which we have accepted as local law. The second very important function that we do is we register ships. By registering ships, what we are doing is we are providing the ship with a nationality. So if you register a ship with the VISR, it will be called a Virgin Island ship.
Okay.
So this is like, with the certificate of registry that we issue is like a passport. So, and it can allow you to travel internationally. So these are the two things that we do.
Okay, thanks for that background. As it relates to safety though, how does the Virgin Islands Shipping Registry go about promoting safety for boaters?
Basically, what we do is we ensure that the boaters are well informed about the various safety aspects before they go. The other thing what we do is that when we see any foreign or local vessels in the territory, we go and examine them and we find out whether they have the proper certification, whether they have the proper licenses to operate, whether they have the proper crew and the skipper, and whether they are properly qualified. This is very similar to a traffic policeman going and looking for the various documents like annual inspection sticker, the license, driver's license, and the insurance, etc. So this is something that we do, and we are empowered to do by the laws of this BVI.
Right. You know, we spoke about you collaborating with the Virgin Islands Police Force, the Marine Unit. Do you also collaborate with other agencies, especially when we have those large events such as poker run and regattas? If so, explain the nature of that collaboration in terms of ensuring that safe practices are adhered to when we have these large-scale events.
True. We collaborate with a lot of other government agencies and other bodies as well, because we cannot be expert in every field, and there are experts who know their field, like conservation and fisheries, like National Parks Trust, the Department of Disaster Management. All these agencies, the BVI Ports Authority, all these agencies have their own expertise and their own specialist knowledge. So we tap into them whenever that is required. For example, for the local poker run, what we did was we contacted the organizers and we spoke to them about what is going to happen and issued a safety alert to all the boaters, telling them what to expect there, what are the safety requirements, and what are their responsibility, what are the responsibilities of the skipper. For example, at North Sound, there was a regatta, and in that regatta, we made sure that we, in collaboration with BVI ports and other organizations, fisheries and conservation, we put speed limiting buoys around in that area.
Okay. Great. And in terms of the safety requirements, you spoke about the requirements, mentioned that there are safety requirements. Can you give me specifics?
Yes, I can give you a few specifics for you. There are laws here, which are Powercraft Act, it is called, and it clearly states that if you're going within 100 yards of the coast, then you should not be doing more than 5 knots, that is 5 miles per hour, nautical miles per hour. Then it says you should not consume alcohol. It says you should not behave in such a manner or drive the boat in such a manner that it will harm people who are in the water. So there are all very intelligent laws. There are no anchoring zones marked. They are all put there for a certain purpose. For protecting what we have. So there are many such laws, and we do our best to sensitize them about these laws, so that particularly in all these events, so that those who come from overseas, they don't find trouble they do not violate our laws.
Right. And apart from the events, generally speaking, persons who are found to be violating these requirements and laws, what action can be taken against them?
Okay. Firstly, we don't have the manpower to patrol all the areas. So what we do is we normally rely on the marine police. But however, if we get any reports of any incident, then we go and examine them. And then we find out how we can prevent the recurrence, and then we issue safety alerts for them.
All right. What are the requirements for vessels to be considered seaworthy? I think you mentioned yellow code and blue code.
Yes.
Is this in relation to that?
No, not in particular.
So you explain.
Yeah. What happens is we have inspectors and surveyors.
Yeah.
And what they do is when a boat is brought to us, commercial boat, I'm talking those who take money for their operation, we look at the body, the hull of the boat, and make sure there are no visible cracks, there are no water leaks from there. Then we look at the machinery, the fire pumps, the bilge pumps, the main engine, and see what is the condition of that. After that, we look at the safety equipment on board for firefighting, for life saving. And then we look at the manning. What is the qualification of the skipper? What is the qualification of the crew? When we are satisfied, we issue them a certificate. And that certificate is called, you can call it as a seaworthiness certificate.
Okay.
And private pleasure operators also, they can voluntarily come to us and ask for an issue of coastal craft license. So that will prove to the public or to any other agency that if they have this coastal craft license, a certificate on board, that the vessel is seaworthy.
Is it valid for a certain number of years?
It's valid for 1 year.
So they have to renew annually?
Yes, annual inspections are there.
Okay, great. As we get ready to end this discussion, what are some of the advice or information that the shipping registry shares with boaters during the hurricane season?
First, I would tell all boaters to go to the DDM website. If there is plenty of information there regarding weather, regarding what to do. There is a list of hurricane shelters there which we share with them. So if they are leaving the island or if they are not going to use their boats, please put your boats there or on the land somewhere. The other thing we want to advise them is never go out in bad weather. Whenever there is a bad weather advisory, please stay on shore. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Captain Bala, thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to Focus. After this commercial break, we'll continue our sea safety discussion with a lifeguard based at Josiah's Beach.
Do you go swimming? How about fishing? Do you catch the ferry? But do you really know what to do to be safe at the sea? Here's a few tips. Life jackets. Take them, wear them. Small boats, especially ones under 6 meters in length, can and may sink very quickly. Wearing a life jacket increases your survival time in the water. Check the local weather marine forecast before you go and expect both weather and sea state changes. Never go out to fish or dive without double checking. Always bring a waterproof communication device, including a waterproof mobile phone or a waterproof case for your phone. Avoid alcohol. Safe boating and alcohol do not mix. Remember, someone needs to stay alert and aware. Similar to cars, you need a designated driver on the boat at all times.
Brought to you by the Public Information and Education Subcommittee of the National Disaster Management Council and this station.
Welcome back to Focus. I'm now here at Josiah's Beach with Head of Lifeguards in the Conservation and Fisheries Department, Mark Street, who's on my left, and also lifeguard David Donovan. Thank you both for being here and being a part of the program. Okay, one of the first things I noticed entering the beach is, of course, the beach flag and the signs. Are these signs posted on all the beaches throughout the territory?
Most of the North Shore beaches have beach safety signs. We actually have more signs to put out at the moment on Anegada, and there's some more signs to go at Jos van Dijk and the Baths at Virgin Gorda. Those particular signs were purchased by the tourist board.
Is there a particular reason why some of the beaches have signs and flags and some don't?
Well, mostly the signs and flags are on the North Shore, where we get north swells or ground swells in the winter season. So like really from end of October around to the beginning of May. And the beaches that have swell or waves on them are more dangerous because you get conditions like rip currents, large waves, big surf, heavy shore break. So conditions that are actually dangerous. So these beaches also get more beach population, more people visit those beaches. And I think there are actually more beaches on the north side anyhow, naturally. But we run a flag warning system on the North Shore of Tortola and work with the Baths, the National Park Trust staff, running a flag warning system every day throughout the year, but we actually post emails every day during the season, so from November through to May.
And when did this process began in terms of the posting of the beach flags?
Well, the process for those particular signs began a whole year ago this time last year, September last year. But beach safety signs, the latest version of signs was started by the tourist board at the end of 2005, beginning of 2006. And then before that, the original beach safety signs were posted around the end of 1997, I think.
And do you find that beachgoers are adhering to the signs?
That's a good question. I think it's a bit like the signs on the road, so like speed limit sign or whatever, or an overtaking sign. Some people pay attention to them, and a lot of people don't. So it's fairly similar, really. Yeah, some people read the sign and take notice of it. Some people don't even look at it. Some read it and still don't take any notice.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So David, let me bring you in here. In terms of the flags and what they mean, can you go through that quickly for us in terms of the different colors?
Okay, the red flag means danger. No one is allowed in the water. So if you see that flag, do not go into the water. The yellow flag is caution. Only strong swimmers are allowed in the water because of the strong currents and stuff like that. We also have a red and yellow flag. That indicates if we have two of them, you have to swim in between the two flags then. The purple flag is wild marine life, jellyfish and sharks. Also we have the checkered flag. You normally see we have them up on Fisherman's Day. That's only for, no swimming is allowed there, only watercraft and boats.
All right, thanks for that. If someone is in distress at the beach, what would be your advice to them in terms of how to cope and handle that situation?
Yeah, another good question. I mean, ideally they should put their hand up and wave and shout for help, and hopefully attract the attention of somebody on the beach. Hopefully there would be a lifeguard on the beach if they follow our advice and swim at a beach with a lifeguard. So hopefully a lifeguard would go and rescue them, or help them at least. But if somebody's in distress, then they're probably not going to be thinking straight. So the most important thing is not to panic, but it's easier to say don't panic than to actually apply it in real life. If someone panics, then that's a problem, because from a drowning perspective, you have distress, and then panic, and then submersion being basically drowning. And that process can take a few minutes, or it can take literally seconds. Yeah.
You know, a lot of us often hear that when in distress while at sea, it's best to try and float. Is that something that you would advise people to do?
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah. If you can stay afloat, then you're not going to drown. So, but if you're panicking, that's, again, easier said than done. But yeah, it's stay afloat, raise one arm and wave and try and attract attention and shout and try and get someone to help you.
And in terms of the beach goers, you know, sometimes people feel compelled to go out and help someone if they see them in distress. Is there any advice for people who are helping others in terms of how they should approach someone who is actually drowning?
On each of the beach safety sign, there's a life ring. What a person could do is run to get the life ring and fling it as fast to the person out there. The current is gonna carry it out to them, and then they could use the rope and assist by pulling them in.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's the life ring in the background here.
That's one of the ones here at Josiah's Bay. Yeah. We don't really recommend, unless you're trained to rescue people in the ocean, to actually go in the water. So the idea is to try and stay dry and rescue from the land if possible. It's very hazardous, and the likelihood is if you go into rescue and you're not trained, or you don't have the right equipment, that you might get into difficulty yourself, and then you end up with more than one casualty. And historically that's happened a lot, not necessarily so much here, but around the world many people have dived into the water to rescue other people, sometimes not just people, even animals like dogs, and they themselves have drowned. So the rescuer drowns, and that's not an unusual thing to happen. That happens.
Before we end, let's take a look at some of the rescue equipment you have here at Josiah's Beach.
This is called a rescue board. This is one of the devices we use to rescue people. We use this mainly like if the person is way out there and we want to get to them as quick as possible, we use the rescue board. Our next device is the rescue tube. This is a lot easier, especially sometimes during like this, the waves them are too rough, and it might be a little difficult to get out there with a rescue board. We use this device to get to them also quicker. So what I'll do, I wrap the rescue tube around me, and then by the time I reach the water, I would fling it to the water and then start swimming out to sea.
Okay, so let's see you do that.
We also use swim fins as well, particularly if the waves are big. And so we'd put these on, the tube, and then swim out to rescue someone. But in reality, the lifeguard's job is, although it is rescue, primarily it's prevention. So we try to prevent incidents from occurring so that we don't have to go in the water and rescue people. Right. If we rescue someone, then to some extent it's a failure of prevention, but it's impossible to prevent everything. So it's inevitable that sooner or later somebody's going to get into difficulty and you have to rescue them. But we probably prevent 100 incidents compared to the one that we have to go in for. Yeah.
And that's a good point to end on. Thank you so much for accommodating us here at Josiah's Beach, and thank you so much for listening to Focus. Join us next time for another edition on CBN Television and on 90.9 FM. I am Fiona Alexander Smith, Information and Education Manager at the Department of Disaster Management.